So when you inject fillers, you kind of have to make it all symmetrical. But you can see why that's difficult, right? Because the penis, that darto space, the substance can move anywhere it wants to move. On top of that, unless it's fat, then the silicone or whatever you injected in is not natural. And so if you get an infection, it will cause me have to take out everything. Fat grafting, it not only does it not look good, it can be dangerous, right? If you Google French billionaire dies while getting penis enlargement, basically they were injecting fat and it got into the blood vessel. He ended up with a pulmonary embolism and then he died that way. If you decide to get silicone injection or fat injection or whatever it may be, just be careful because it can lead to death with the pulmonary embolism and then the lumpy look, and it just doesn't look good.
Let it's priceless, take it to the moon. Priceless, one day will be soon. Let it's priceless.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of D-Talk with Dr. Pham. So today I'm going to talk about fillers to make the penis thicker. But I have to do the usual. These are just my opinions. And if you don't self-diagnose, get professional, help if you feel like you have any of this. And then always click subscribe to let me know that, I'm doing this as a public service just so people can understand urology a little bit better. So, but by subscribing, then I'll know that people are interested in the topics. So let's get to it. So I've had a lot of guys been asking me, because, I do a lot of penis elongation, which is very different from penis enlargement. And I think in one of the episodes, I spoke about the difference, so I won't, talk too much about that. So one of the questions that a lot of guys ask me is about thickening or getting a thicker penis. And so currently, there's only one device on the market that really is a sheath that you actually insert kind of underneath the skin and around the two cylinders to give you that, that increased girth. But you always have to remember, just like with breast implant, you can overdo it, right? Because it may not look natural. And what I mean by that is, if the head of your penis, or what we call the glans penis, if it's too small, or if it's small, and then you insert a sheath to make the penis thicker, now you can have like an appearance that looks like this. Like your tip is like, just imagine your tip is this green thing, and then this whole thing is your penis. I mean, that's just not attractive. Maybe to some, but I don't think that's a good look. And so the other thing, that's one product that's on the market. The other things that people are doing is injecting stuff into the penis. So you kind of have to understand the anatomy of the penis. So I'll just go into that real quick. Basically, the penis is not very complicated. It's just two cylinders, and that's what we call the corpora. And the cylinder is what's responsible for, sexual intercourse, erections, all that. And the cylinder is also what determines what your size is. And then the urethra just kind of lays below it in between the two corpora. So when you do injection we'll get into the different substance, but let's just for now, when you inject a substance into the penis so that you can make it wider, what you're actually doing is you're injecting the substance underneath the skin in a space called the darto space, okay? And the darto space is the space that is between the skin and the cylinders, okay? And the covering around the cylinders is something we call Buck's fascia, if you're interested anatomically. And so the issue is you know me, I'm on the cutting edge of anything that I think will benefit the patient. But I just could never find, because anytime you do surgery, you have to ask yourself, is what you're doing outweigh is the surgery, the benefit of the surgery, does it outweigh the risk of it? And today, there's just no product on the market that I think justifies going under the knife for, or even, not, or even just doing it in the clinic, uh, especially with fillers. And here's the reason why. When you do fillers, they typically will fill it with some sort of substance. It can be silicone, it can be fat, it can be, synthetic stuff that they come up with. And the downside to that is, and trust me, I know because I have had to take out a lot of fillers and it becomes very difficult and your complication rate is very high. So, and what I mean by that is when I try to take out the fillers, blood supply can be compromised and that skin can die. And so you end up in a bad situation, especially if you don't have extra skin for me to kind of reconstruct it. And so and then, the reason why I just could never find, anything that would make me want to do fillers. And the reason is, one, the cosmetic look. It just doesn't look good because the penis is an enclosed space, okay? And so when you inject the substance in there, it's very hard to make it fully symmetrical, okay? Because things move around. So when you inject fillers, you kind of have to make it all symmetrical. But you can see why that's difficult, right? Because the penis, that darto space, the substance can move anywhere it wants to move. And on top of that, if you get an infection, then, unless it's fat, then the silicone or whatever you injected in is not natural. And so if you get an infection, it will cause me have to take out everything because it's a foreign substance. And so, and when I do that, basically you run a very high chance of devascularizing the skin because it's very stuck to the skin. And so, I recently took out a filler for a gentleman, and because one of the side it looks like it's a little knob, like my knuckle. And so, like a little piece like that, I think it's okay. But if I have to remove everything, that's going to be a big problem, because basically you're going to have to get into blood vessels. And so I usually tell the patient, unless it's just so deformed that they just cannot live with that, then, then I'll try to take it out. But they have to understand that they're going to run the risk that you may need a skin graft, and a skin graft on a penis just never looks good. I mean, just imagine, your face has a different type of skin, and now you're taking a skin graft from your thigh and putting it on your face. Unless you put makeup on, I mean, guys typically don't put makeup on, then it's going to be hard to conceal the look. And penis is no different, right? It's, and so, and there's other complications associated with skin grafting versus using the penis skin itself. And so, because one of the guys posed that question, like, hey, Dr. Pham, which filler do you like? And I tell him, to be honest with you, I don't really like any fillers. And I don't really have experience with the device. And so I can't comment on that. And so, but good thing is 99% of guys I operate on, they're actually not interested in the girth. What they're interested in is, the length, is correcting their buried penis or whatever it may be. And so, but when you do think about fillers, just imagine, just remember that you run you run the risk of infection. And so in a lot of patients, what they do is they go to other countries like Mexico or whatnot to get it silicone injected, and who knows what they really use, right? And so now fat grafting, now that is also, it not only does it not look good, it can be dangerous, right? If you Google French billionaire dies while getting penis enlargement. Basically, they were injecting fat and it got into the blood vessel. He ended up with a pulmonary embolism, and then he died that way. That's what I read on the news. This happened maybe a few years ago. But I don't, like I said, I don't know his whole story of why he wanted that or whatnot. But generally speaking, most guys, thank goodness, are more interested in increasing the length and not necessarily increasing the girth. But but my advice for fillers is, unless they have some sort of fillers that can even itself out, it just gives it a lumpy look, and it just doesn't look natural at all. And so, for me, I personally would just stay away from fillers. They'll try to sell you on this and that, oh, it'll be even, it'll whatnot. Yeah, you may get one or two out of a few hundred that happen to be even, but generally you're going to get kind of a lumpy look, and it just doesn't look natural. At least all the ones that I've operated on, it doesn't look natural. Like, it looks scary. And so I just want to leave you guys with that, that when you want to enlarge your penis, which is very different from elongating your penis, just be mindful that there's ramifications to the injections. Now, there are some substance that they can inject stuff to try to dissolve it. But once again, I recently operated on a gentleman and they did that and it just didn't work, because how do you actually get the solvent to where it needs to go? And it's very tough. And then you don't want to accidentally inject it into the cylinders or the corpora itself. So all I'm getting at is, if you are contemplating that, don't. But if you have your mind set on that, just remember, nothing. There's no free lunch, right? So if you decide to get silicone injection or fat injection or whatever it may be, just be careful, because it can lead to death with the pulmonary embolism, and then the lumpy look, and it just doesn't look good, And to this day, like I said, there's only one product that if I were to use, I would use. But even then, I would probably wait for more data to come out on penis enlargement, devices and stuff, before I would be convinced that that's something that that I would do. So it's not hard to inject these fillers. What's hard is to make it even. And, it may look even for a day or two or a couple weeks, couple months, but then eventually over time, when everything settles, you're going to get this inflammatory response, and then you're going to end up with like little knuckles here and there. And then now it's like what you thought you got wasn't really what you got. So just remember that, and especially insurance doesn't cover it, so it can be expensive. So I would highly suggest probably just holding off on enlargement until something more durable can be available. Okay, so I hope that helps answer the questions on my thoughts on fillers for penis enlargement. Elongation, on the other hand, that's a totally different thing. You have hidden penis or whatever, then yeah, the benefit of elongating the penis outweighs the risk. But for fillers, I just can't find how the benefit will outweigh the risk. And so the risk in the OR, if they do fat injection, would be pulmonary embolism, and infection is always, a possibility. If you get stuff injected in the clinic, infection, uneven look with stuff that's injected in the clinic, as well as fat that's injected in the OR, it's just not easy to make the penis, a perfect cylinder. You're gonna get lumps and bumps. It has been my experience, and so, but I hope that helps whoever is even contemplating it. Really, just do your research if you really want to undergo that thing. To fill up your penis so it can look more plump, but just be mindful of the complications and the ramifications that can come with it. Okay, so I hope this episode kind of helps answer the filler question, and then I think that's it for this episode. So please hit subscribe and show me some love and let me know that you guys want me to keep doing this. And we have a lot of interesting topics to cover. Unfortunately, with my busy schedule, there's no way I can cover everything quickly. So what I do is we pick the topic that we think would be most interesting to discuss on the show. So, okay. All right, this is Dr. Pham signing off.
We gon' do it like it's priceless. Take it to the moon. Priceless, one day will be soon. Like it's priceless.